Welcome to another AAPC Social Hour. I am AAPC Alex, or Alex McKinley from the national office. I have my friends Catherine, Keegan, and Angelika Bodie. Hey guys, how are you?
Hey Alex.
Hey, doing good. How are y'all?
I am doing well here in Salt Lake area. You know, our weather out here has been strange, hot during the days, but by the evenings it gets cloudy and thunderstormy and a little bit rainy. Angelika, where are you at?
I am in Georgia.
Okay. All right. And so I just, is that about right?
Yes, basically. That you got it right. Very
Nice.
hot and humid.
And we're in the thick of summer, so it's probably
It's actually
more
been kind of
noticeable.
a little bit of a mild summer so far. I'm gonna knock on wood.
Okay.
But yeah.
All right. And Catherine, where are you at?
Sharing some of the same weather as Angela because I'm in Raleigh, North Carolina, so we get those hot, humid summers. Maybe 90s right now, kind of humid. It's giving us a little tease and pick of what's to come, but I'll take this as we have it right now, a little bit more mild.
Okay. All right. Well, thanks you two for joining us. Now, you are both on AAPC's education committee. Catherine, why don't you tell us a little bit about what do you guys do?
Well, we have a great leader, Craig. Actually, he'll reach out to us for different things where it can be as far as updating subject content on some of the certification exams, as CPT is updated every year in ICD-10, just for relevancy, making sure that it's up to date. It can be for special projects. It can be for subject matter opinions in areas that his SMEs are well versed in. So it's kind of a mix of tasks.
Okay. All right. And we were just talking before going live. I guess we're about 2-3 weeks past HealthCon in Nashville. Catherine, you were there. Angelika, were you there?
I was there.
Okay. All right. But we did not connect. How did that not happen?
We didn't connect. We did say hi briefly, but we didn't.
Okay.
It was really quickly.
Everybody was so busy. Yes.
Everyone was so busy, yeah.
For sure. Well, it feels like forever since we've had a social hour. It's our last one was the last day of HealthCon, and then we've had about 2 weeks off. But we'll talk about HealthCon in just a little bit. But just want to give a shout out to a few of our viewers. Also at HealthCon, Beverly Johnson from Tennessee, Lady Martinez from Orange, California. Hey, it's good to. Usually we just see each other online, and it's so fun to have seen so many of these amazing members in person at HealthCon. May, she says this is her first time attending this event. So hey, May, thanks for joining us. We host AAPC Social Hour twice a month, the second and fourth Wednesdays at 11 a.m. Mountain Time. So hope we can join us today and going forward. We have Shanaz from New Jersey, and we've seen you on with us before. Thanks for being with us again. And Angela Tarantino from Connecticut, Kayla from LA. When I see LA, is it LA, California or Louisiana? Let us know, Kayla. In the comments. Hey, Lori, it's good to see you. Lori in Broomfield, Colorado. Jamie King in Kentucky. Melissa Batzel in Kansas City. Thanks you all for joining us. So now, Catherine, what is your specialty in the business of healthcare?
Dermatology, GI as well, but my main passion is dermatology.
Okay, all right. And how long have you been an AAPC member for, Catherine?
Thank you. You're asking me to date myself. Since 1995. I know I don't look it, but yes, 1995. Yes, long time.
Awesome. Well, you joined 8 years after we were founded, so 1988. We are celebrating our 35th birthday this year. Angelika, what is your specialty in the business of healthcare?
Wound care.
Wound care. Awesome. What was your first job as a coder?
Retinal ophthalmology was the first specialty that I worked in, and then I moved over into wound care.
Okay. So do you love wound care and you kind of just like, this is the path I fell into and I love it and I'm gonna stick with it, or are there other areas that you're interested in? Tell us a little bit about that.
I think I do love wound care. I think it's hard to be a coder and not fall in love with several different areas. So there are definitely a couple other specialties that have my interest, but I do love wound care. I kind of just fell into it. I didn't realize how much I liked it until I went to. I knew I had a knack for the coding the integumentary system and more interest in the area, so it kind of worked out that way.
Awesome. How long have you been an AAPC member for, Angelika?
Since 2019.
Okay.
Not
All
long.
right. That's cool. Awesome. Well, we just talked about the 35th anniversary, and there's a lot that we're excited about and want to celebrate. I mean, 35 years is a long time, and it's just fun to see AAPC grow. I had seen a chart showing our growth, and a lot of it there's so much growth around that transition from I-9 to I-10. So many members joining, and it's just amazing to be a part of this ride to support all of these amazing professionals. So thank you all for being with us and sharing your journeys. There's so many great stories out there that we love to share. Now, but real quick, we have a few people who will be joining us from the publishing team in just a few minutes, but I just want to share with a few administrative things happening. So we have a member survey, and let me pull up information on that. So I learned about this member survey the other day, and I guess the window of time for you to be able to take that is pretty short, like a week or two. Let's see. And this is just a way for you, our members, to share what your experience is like with AAPC, areas of improvement, and things like that. Okay. You'll probably get an email about this. So there's a link in the email about that. And the survey is officially live today. I'm going to drop a link to that survey in the chat for you guys. And if you get a minute, feel free to take that. Just give us your thoughts and feedback. All right. There it is. So let me know if you have any issues with that, but we'd love for you guys to take that and let us know where we stand with you and help us be better moving forward. Also, I'm kind of curious for you, Catherine and Angelika. We have this all access promotion. Have you guys seen that?
Yes.
Yep. And it's very different than what we usually do, and it's exciting for us to have something kind of fresh in a different direction, kind of hopefully meeting needs of members. But what do you think? So just a preview of the promotion. It's I think it's like, if you pay for the cost of one certification training, it's like $2,000 something. You get all of our trainings, or most of them, for you to complete over 4 years. So if you do one or two, you're going to cover that cost. But how many do you think you could finish in 4 years?
In 4 years?
Yes. Could you do one a year?
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
Maybe 2 or 3 a year.
Okay.
Maybe 12. I'm currently working on 3 this year. So
holy cow.
I know.
You're brave.
I am. Thank you.
Catherine, what do you think?
I'm thinking that, for coders out there that, have full-time jobs, maybe families, right? Realistically, I'm kind of agreeing with Angelika. I would think maybe 3 a year, one every 4 to 6 months. So I'd say 2 to 3 a year would be something that would be realistic.
Okay. All right. So yeah, you can choose between 28 of our certifications. So if there's a specialty you're looking for, or maybe a few specialties you're looking at, this might be a good way to get into that and cut down on those costs. I mean, there's the opportunity to earn over 394 CEUs, which is insane. And who really needs that many? But and you'd have to like take every course, right? But there's a lot of opportunity to learn and grow with that. But yeah, let me know. There's been discussions about this in the Facebook group. I'd love to hear what you guys watching think of that promotion. Does it fit a need for you guys? Louise Sessions said she signed up. But yeah, let me know what you guys think about that. It's something a little different, and I hope you guys find it useful and helpful for you in your careers. All right. Well, let's see what else we have. We have conferences coming up. We have HealthCon, the regional conference coming up in Washington, D.C., early August. Catherine, Angelika, will you guys be at that one?
I will be. I'm part of the planning committee. So it's another function I serve at AAPC. So yes, we will be selecting the speakers and helping put that on. So I will be there. I'm excited for that.
Awesome.
I will unfortunately not be able to meet the regional this year, but I do plan on going to HealthCon in Vegas next year.
That'll be fun.
Mm-hmm.
Do you like Las Vegas, Angelika? Do you like to hang out there?
I have not been. Mm-hmm.
Cool. Well, then I think you're going to have a good time. It's quite the site. Yeah, there's a lot to check out in Las Vegas. Not a boring town. All right, you guys. I'm going to let in Renee from publishing and Robert Bunting. And we'll get them in here and see what they have up their sleeves. Hi, Renee.
Hi, Alex. Hi, Angelika. Hi, Catherine.
Hey.
How are things in the magazine and publishing world, Renee?
Fantastic.
Good. We have someone, a mysterious attendee here, owner, and I'm hoping that's Robert Bunting. Robert, is that you? A mysterious person. Oh,
there it is.
Hey, there you go. I had another button to click.
Oh, that's right. Robert Bunting.
How are you? Hello, Alex.
It's good to meet you.
As well. Thank you for having me.
Now, are you an artist?
Am I an artist? In different ways, but not
Okay.
one. I'm not a physical artist, but what you see behind me is something
Yes.
that we've collected.
Okay, yes. Awesome. Well, not only are you an artist in your own unique ways, maybe you're an artist with medical coding and with your knowledge of the business of healthcare. Now, we were bringing you on because you wrote an article in the most recent magazine comparing 2023 Evaluation and Management, MDM, and Table of Risk. First, Robert, tell us a little bit about your expertise and background to help kind of prepare us to talk about this article.
Sure. Well, I've been in the medical coding business for greater than 25 years. Started in the early 90s. And when I started then, CPT was just getting involved with creating new codes in the late 80s. In the early 90s, started this profession, and just shortly thereafter, the 95 guidelines, 97 guidelines came out, and this was a big struggle for the industry, and trying to get it together to make sure that everybody's following these guidelines. Which were not so clear at that point in time. And then, of course, came after that, what helped everyone was like the Marshfield Clinic scorecard. That kind of helped put quantification into this whole process. It's been a long time since that struggle, and things seem to have gotten better. But however, and with the brand new guidelines that 2023 put out, being reviewed, started last year when AMA put their new guidelines out in July. There was a review that was done of the guidelines, and then when CPT came out in the late year, and then CMS came out with the final physician fee schedule that approved or adopted most of that work, that's when the comparisons start to take place. What we had in place way back then, what the struggles were then, and what we have in place today. I've been involved with emergency medicine and inpatient services for the past 25 years. Back in 19, I decided I wanted to retire and try to get kind of smoothing things out. I said, okay, I'm going to retire. My wife is still fully engaged with emergency medicine, inpatient auditing as well. So this household is a commonplace of this practice on a regular basis. So today, the struggles are with the new guidelines, how to interpret these guidelines. So I've been looking at these guidelines, and I did a comparison of the 95 guidelines, which is pretty much the same as 97, except there's 97 is more specialty specific. But the guidelines themselves in regards to medical decision-making, what you needed for history exam, all that stuff is pretty much what was in place then. So taking these old guidelines and the new guidelines, I just did a comparison. And I saw a lot of similarities with the risk table from the old 95, 97 guidelines with the new medical decision-making grid in CPT 2023. That's what started all of this. And so digging deeper into what the AMA has put out in CPT, which is still very questionable. And then we have those folks out there in the world, I don't have to name them, the American College of Emergency Physicians has made their own interpretation. But that's not saying that they did it without any flexibility of thought process by what AMA has put out. AMA back in 2020 has put out that these guidelines have a lot of flexibility and you can do these types of things with them. And by saying that in 2020, before the 21 guidelines came out, when the change was for the outpatient services, very same medical decision-making grid that we have for 2023, still back in 2020, they were trying to get it together before the guidelines took place in 21, and there were lots and lots of questions there as well. Not a lot of clarity, but the understanding of those guidelines was still not, it was still kind of like isolated to outpatient services. It didn't include emergency medicine and other E&M settings, but there's still a lot to put together here to make this a lot better, a lot easier practice. And the goal was, when I read, oh, these new guidelines that, like ASAP said, and it's supposed to make things a lot easier. Well, it sure does look like it, but it's a lot more difficult when we go under the sheets there and look at what we got going on. So I've been involved with all of this, retired in 19, back in service when AMA said we're putting out new guidelines in 22. My wife is practicing regularly, daily. So we work together and looking at all these guidelines, and we are today. I wrote that article. I have another one in the making in regards to the data requirements for the new medical decision-making grid, which is kind of like, oh gosh, let's get it together, folks. They had too many interpretations out there, what AMA really meant by what they have written. So that's where we are today.
Okay, Catherine, Angelika, do you have any questions or thoughts about Robert's article?
I just want to say that, look at how we're dealing with this as coders, right? And I think this was supposed to make it easier for the physicians, but what I'm finding is that they're still looking for that easy button, right? They are still struggling. And we as coders, I think it's easier, but it's still, as far as the targeted audience, I think the physicians are still struggling with it. They have a little bit more clarity, but I still think that it's not resonating with them as much as we anticipated. We were all hoping this was going to be that magic cure. I don't think it really has hit that yet. I think we're in a better place. I don't think we're there yet. I don't know how you feel about that, Robert.
Right. Well, you're exactly right about that. I really feel the same thing about that. It was supposed to be a much easier process, but the realism is that, when coders go in and look at this new medical decision-making grid, they look at a record to translate the documentation into codes. Now, I see the struggles are how to classify the number and complexity of problems, and then how are they going to be addressed? And all of that is really risk. All of that is really risk. The presenting problem is basically condition risk. What are you presenting with? How bad is it? That's condition risk. And then everything else that's done for the patient is the management and treatment risk. So everything is surrounding around risk. And if you look at the old risk table from back 95 guidelines, you really have an overlapping of information from that risk table to the new medical decision-making grid. It's really just a flip over of all the information. So what I see in the near future for best practice is to have the doctors really do a better job in documentation of we can use this HPI, all of the elements within the HPI, what happened, where's the problem, how bad is it, and all these types of things. Give the coder or an auditor a better idea of what are they presenting with and how bad is it, so we can really classify that presenting problem. Is it an acute problem or illness or injury that poses a threat to life or bodily function? Then we can really say that, because that really identifies the risk level as well. And you're probably going to have a big workup. So if you have a good workup, you're going to see, if you work with the physicians, if they document these discussions, the orders, the reviews, and so forth, the types of medications, it's the background work that's happening there, all of the laboratory work, the diagnostic studies, all of that is taken into consideration as well, as far as the level of risk, the condition that's being presented, the management and treatment that's being ordered and treated. As we know that the patient's condition of risk is really based on the presenting problem and the management and treatment during and after treatment is all risk. So it's really the presenting problem, the type of presenting problem, what they did, and your level of risk. So there is some work for the physicians to do to better document, for the coding and auditing staff to read it easier. But right now, it's not there. I don't see it.
Robert, for a retired guy, you are so incredibly passionate about this, and I love you're just all in on it still. And you better be careful, because someone watching this might want to hire you again.
I'm available. I'm available for consultant work. I'm deeply involved with this. My wife is full-time practicing. And she's still doing emergency medicine and hospital inpatient services. And so this is our world here. And we want to make sure that we read it clearly. We try to interpret it. There's a lot of stuff that needs to be done on the provider side to help with the coders and auditing staff. I'm ready for it. Okay.
Angelika, any thoughts, comments on your end?
Nothing to add. I totally agree with what Catherine and Robert were saying, and I think a lot of it comes down to if we can get clarification on the definition of definition. So it comes down to just clear documentation from the providers, and not just clear, but complete documentation from the providers for their workups.
My thought is this: I'm looking at the article now, and at the very end, there's a picture of Robert, and it's not the same guy I'm looking at now. The Robert I'm looking at on the screen looks like he's just got off tour with the Eagles.
Yes, you know what? I spent a lot of time in the Navy, and all my years working for outside of the Navy, I had a short haircut. And then for the past 4 years, I let my hair grow. And I feel like I'm back a teenager again.
I love it.
It's awesome.
Renee, any thoughts from you?
Just that, I was so happy to receive Robert's article. It's not something that we often get, that has so much insight and is really researches and looks into the topic. A lot of us, myself, I'm not a coder, so I can read the guidelines, and that's as far as it goes. So it's really, really wonderful to have somebody that has so much understanding behind the whole thing and can make sense of it all for us.
Oh, thank you. Thank you so much.
Yes, your passion makes me want to jump into coding. So Renee, maybe we'll take a coding class together. I don't know.
Sure.
Special right now, Alex.
Well,
Really
Yeah, that's right. That's
Well,
right. Thanks,
Oh.
Catherine. Yeah.
I have another article that I've submitted. And this is all part of the medical decision-making process. It's all about data and category 1 data and how the industry folks out there have made their interpretation of the AMA guidelines, which are the reason for the disparity of interpretation out there. I tried to get a hold of the AMA and I got swished to the side, to the left and the right. I attended an AMA documentation, 23 E&M documentation webinar on May 25th. They put out a lot of stuff that day and I questioned almost all of it because it sounded like it was going against everything that was being written. And as an example, one of the doctors, he was talking about, well, if we give, a parenteral controlled substance, which is high risk, if we give it every day and we're not talking about it every day, we can consider it a prescription drug. I'm like, oh my God. Well, anyway, that's just an example. But anyway, the AMA came out with a summary panel of what took place that day. And all of the E&M information that was put out that day was withdrawn. That means it's not considered, though it had to be withdrawn because you can't take that into consideration for your decision-making taken from AMA. I don't know what the next steps are. I know that there's some problems with EMM guidelines right now, and I think they're moving in that direction because of all of the questions and unclear business and all of the interpretations that are out there in this industry right now.
Robert, you seem to have a knack for writing. Was that always the case? Have you always written about the business of healthcare, or is this a skill that you've picked up with opportunities through Healthcare Business Monthly?
Well, as I was the compliance program director at Change Healthcare, formerly McKesson, formerly Medifis, and so on, all of the writing I did was involved with training, local internal business. But I always summarize everything that I got out there in the field for our staff, all of our account managers, and all of our clients across the country. And so that was the only writing I did. But I have an knack of pulling things together. If I see something that's questionable, and I go back and look at everything else and try to nitpick it. That's what I do.
Awesome.
This is a standard thing.
Yeah, I know there are many members watching this who probably have or inspired like you see something happening in the industry and you're eager to kind of pull it together and share that. And Renee, I know you always welcome those opportunities to help someone to help curate their writing skills and such. Renee, do you have any specific needs or any topics that you're looking for right now in Healthcare Business Monthly?
Yeah, I couldn't tell you right off the top of my head. I do have an article wish list though. So if if you know what you want to write about, great. Or if you want to talk to me about it before you write it, great. Contact me. I'll put my email in the chat. If you want to write but need a suggestion, then I'm more than happy to send you the article wish list. I mean, I update it all the time, and with the the MPFS proposed rule coming out soon, there will be a whole lot of other things to talk about soon. So and all the July 1st coding and everything. I mean, there's the updates. There's going to be plenty to talk about. So yeah, just contact me if you're interested, and I'd be happy to work with you.
Okay. And Robert, we just love your passion, and thank you so much for sharing your expertise and skill set with our members in the magazine. I'm so grateful that you allow us to share your voice with our membership.
Well, Alex, I thank you for allowing me this time. I really do appreciate that. It's really awesome to meet all of you for the first time. Again, I can say it. I'm available if anybody's needing any consultative work. I'm available. My contact
Oh.
information is on that article.
Okay. All right. Yep. Just look at the bottom of the article. You'll find Robert's information there. Robert, thanks so much for joining us. Renee, thank you so much. I will post a link to the webpage where you can share your article ideas with Renee. Thanks, you two. We'll see you next time.
Thank you so
Okay,
much.
thank you. Bye.
Bye.
Okay. There we go. All right. We've got one more guest today, you guys. We've got Kelly Shew joining us. Kelly, who is no stranger to AAPC Social Hour. Kelly Shew, how are you?
Good, thanks. How are you doing?
I'm great. Hey, you're at home today.
Actually traveling. We had to come up to
Oh.
Alaska to take care of some family business, so I'm in a hotel at the moment.
Oh no. Yeah, when I usually see you when you're on Social Hour or a webcast, you've got your buddy Missy with you.
Yes,
So this is just you this time.
just me. Yeah, Melissa's not going to be able to attend RiskCon this time because she's going to be on a cruise. So,
All right. Okay, well, tell us about this. Just to kick it off, over the last few years, we've added virtual conferences that are specialty conferences, RiskCon. I think we have a compliance conference coming up as well. Kelly, what is your role with RiskCon? Tell us a little bit about that.
so this is going to be my third year presenting at RiskCon. I believe it's 3 years old. So I'm very excited to be asked back every year because I love risk adjustment, and it's quite fun to get to talk about all the different areas that happen, because risk adjustment is so much more than just coding. So
Tell me about like the risk adjustment path. Like, is this for yourself? Was it a path that you sought and you thought, hey, I might enjoy this, or did it find you?
it kind of fell me. I sort of fell into it. I was very confused because until I was told, hey, you're going to be doing this, I just thought that there was coding the way that we're taught. I didn't realize that risk adjustment was a whole separate beast or entity on its own. And then I got into it and I kind of love it. So it's stuck around.
Okay, tell us a little bit about the conference. What are some of the presentations that are a part of that? And part two of that question is, would this be good for someone who is considering a career path in risk adjustment?
Okay. Actually, yeah, there's a lot to offer in this year's RiskCon. If you are new and you're either thinking about risk adjustment, or maybe you're like me and you kind of got here's risk adjustment, here's how you learn it. There's great sessions for the people that are new. We've got things like session 1A, which has different types of risk adjustment coding, because there's actually 3 different models that people operate out of. There's 7A, which focuses more on like the really, really entry level person, the purpose of the risk adjustment coding. It goes over the different acronyms, because we have a lot of acronyms. Gosh, we love our acronyms in this field, don't we? And where to find reliable resources, things like that. If you've been in the risk adjustment field already, there's also lots of great sessions. I'm particularly looking forward to 2B, which has a lot to do with what the Office of the Inspector General or the Health and Human Services are going to be looking at, or the things that they've been finding out on audits, and what are they going to be focusing on in the future. And then, not to, plug my own session, but maybe you want to get into some of that risk adjustment, or maybe some of the clinical documentation stuff, and you want to hang out with me in 6A, where we're going to go over some of that stuff and what it would take to make that career transition.
Catherine, Angelika, do you guys dabble with risk adjustment at all? Do you guys have your hands in there?
Not yet, no.
Right. Okay. All right. How about you, Catherine?
I do not, but I love Kelly's passion.
Yes. Yes. Now, RiskCon for a general coder, like, how would this conference help them in what they do?
So I guess I'm going to get the easy one out of the way first. CEUs, of course, there's tons of great CEUs on, but if you're in it for more than just that, there's new trends. We've got some really, really big changes coming to risk adjustment next year that are kind of gonna shake up the way things have been going on for a little bit. So getting to learn about those is going to be fantastic. And then, maybe you'll be that person in your department where you're like, oh yeah, I already know about all the changes because I was at RiskCon and I learned about it. But then, there's just the different parts. Like I said, RiskCon are just about coding. There's so many other pieces and things that you can learn from it. And so we've got different sessions that would introduce you to those different things. And then also the other, I think probably, I know the education is great, but I think my favorite part about these conventions, and I was just at my very first HealthCon in person, so that was super exciting. But I love the networking. I love the people that you meet and that you don't know that are going to be useful, because I've come across people that I thought, oh, hey, great, it's nice to meet you. I've seen your name, and then we say hi and we go on our ways. And then maybe 2 or 3 months later, they're like a really big part of my life because they're either acting as a mentor for me or they're answering questions or giving me resources or guidance or something. And that's another great aspect to these.
I was going to
Is
say,
RiskCon hybrid?
oh,
Sorry.
oh, go ahead. Go ahead.
Is RiskCon a hybrid conference like HealthCon, or is it 100%
It's a
online?
virtual only.
Okay.
It's one of the boutiques. So like DocuCon, the compliance, this one, these are all just virtual.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you.
Awesome. Well, Kelly, thanks so much for joining us. And hey, I was mentioning before you came on how awesome HealthCon is, because we get to see all these amazing people that we interact with virtually all the time.
Mm-hmm.
You're one of them.
Yeah.
So it's so good to meet you in person. Will you be in DC? Just curious.
I will. Yes.
Okay.
Yep.
Will you be presenting?
Not that I've heard. So no, I don't think on this one. No.
Okay. Okay. All right. So we'll just hang out.
Yes.
Okay.
All
awesome.
right.
Well, Kelly, we'll see you in DC.
Yes.
And have a good trip in Alaska.
All right. Thank you. Bye.
All right, you guys. Hey, Robert Bunting. What an extraordinary person. Like this, he's out of the industry, like official. I mean, he's tied into it because of his wife, but his passion and love for the business of healthcare is infectious. And I mean, he just loves what he's learned. It's pretty cool.
Very passionate.
Yes. All right. Well, guys, did you meet Kelly in Nashville?
I did.
I did not get to see her, no.
Okay. All right. Yeah.
Next
And yeah, that's right. The next time in Las Vegas.
Mm-hmm.
The venue in Nashville at the Gaylord Resort, it was amazing, beautiful resort, huge. It's literally a city.
Mm-hmm.
You never have to leave. I think if there was a challenge for me, it was it's so big that we're spread out quite a bit sometimes. Mm-hmm. And so I didn't get to, I saw Kelly a few times in passing, but it was those natural areas where everybody kind of hangs out. They weren't there as much as some other venues. And maybe I should have been in the main hall for like keynotes and general sessions more, but I don't know. Angelika, what were some of your highlights from HealthCon in Nashville?
Well, I can't not bring up the best live performance of Celine Dion impersonators that the world hath ever seen.
Oh boy,
Alex,
that's
and
horrible.
I think it was David. It was wonderful. So Vegas is going to have to blow it out of the water for me when it comes to live performances, because nothing can top that.
That's
that
right.
was wonderful.
Oh man, that was so. Just so you know, like Dave throws this at me like 15 minutes before we go on, and he's like a natural performer type of guy. So yeah, when he does that, it catches me off guard. So I apologize for anybody who had to witness that.
Well, it's now recorded and permanent AAPC history.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. Catherine, what did you enjoy most about conference? Any sessions or anything jump out at you?
I think really what resonated with me this time was just the collaboration, the networking. And it wasn't, there's always networking at these events, but everybody just seemed to lean in at this one and share their knowledge. And that to me was really different. I made some real connections in this meeting with people that I'll be continue to be in contact with, that we can help each other, navigate our worlds, and also being able to put faces to people that we see on LinkedIn and on Facebook. That was an exciting part to me as well. Other than the venue, right? I told I had to prepare myself for re-entry into the real world when I came home, because the venue was just spectacular, I thought.
Yes. Catherine, how many HealthCon events have you attended?
Okay, well, you know how long I've been a member.
Yes.
So I have to guess. Oh, I'd say probably around 20.
20. Wow. What was your first?
I can't remember, and I want to say Vegas. It just seems like forever they've been in Vegas.
Yeah.
And I think that geographically, when I lived in California, that was a pretty close venue. And I want to say one of the first ones was in Vegas, but I can't remember to be sure.
Okay. And we had a stretch there where we were doing Orlando at Disneyland or Disney World and Las Vegas. And then here we are heading back there. So looking forward to that. Now, I'd say a highlight just for me, just to be with everybody, to just again, just you guys have pointed this out, just making those connections that with members that you see online all the time. Angelika, I think you have been on the top 5 list of monthly helpers in the Facebook group. Haven't you been on there?
I've been everywhere. You've probably seen me all over LinkedIn, all over the Facebook pages. Yeah. Everywhere.
In fact, if you search for search the hashtag HealthCon23 on LinkedIn, you'll run into Angelika in a bunch of your posts. So thanks for sharing your experience. It's awesome. And in fact, it probably, I think, and encourage all of you to connect with Catherine and Angelika on LinkedIn, get to know them, and you may have a desire or stumble into wound care or dermatology and can rely on them down the road. Now, let's talk about sessions though. So from the general sessions, one thing that I caught from all of them was Bevan talking about AI in his welcome message. So, Angelika, thoughts about AI coming into our world?
I think it's nothing to be scared of. I think that was probably one of the biggest reasons why people talk about AI and coding in our industry is they think that it's going to replace our jobs or it's going to replace coders, and it's not going to. AI, as Bevan had mentioned, it's not sentient. It is infallible. AI, it stands for artificial intelligence. It is created by man. So it'll also reflect our individual errors as well. It's not going to replace any coders. I think at the most, it's going to be beneficial to our jobs.
Yes.
Any technologies or any new technologies or new processes that we can implement in our day-to-day, it's going to be an improvement. So consider AI just an advancement in what we can do on a day-to-day basis. It's nothing to be afraid of.
Yeah. Catherine, thoughts on your end as someone who's coded for many years, and you probably have a circle of friends who have, they've done it a certain way for a long time. Catherine, what are your kind of things maybe you have heard from peers?
First of all, I was amazed at that chat app that Bevan showed. In fact, I downloaded it that night on my phone, and I've just been amazed. I've been playing with it ever since. It's fascinating. But I think AI, as Angelika said, it's a great way to augment the services that are already occurring to help people become more efficient. But with it also comes the need for guardrails. AI, don't forget, it's working behind the scenes 24/7. If something goes awry, it's going to happen really fast. It's going to continue to happen. So I think that AI has to have a control mechanism and monitoring to make sure it hasn't gotten off the beaten path. So I think that the talent pool may change, right? So instead of coding from a chart, you may be reviewing what AI's done. So it's never going to replace what we do. And I agree with Angelika said, I just think our jobs may look a little different, but they'll still need that skill set.
Yes. if you would like, you can refer back to Bevan's welcome message. It lives on our Facebook page. So if you scroll down the feed, you can find it there. And that just reminded me, I need to get that up on YouTube. So I'll put that up on YouTube sometime this week. But Bevan brought this up during his presentation that there are other industries and job roles that have been affected by AI, and it has never wiped out a job role. In fact, it has created, like for marketing, that's Bevan's background and where I work, it has created more jobs, specialists who know how to navigate AI with the other tools. And we are encouraged here at AAPC, we were asked, hey, if you see a way that you can use ChatGPT just for us to get our feel of how AI can work in what we do. And I've used it for some writing things, for writing messages to coworkers or social media posts, things like that. And I never take it on first try. Like, it always needs editing. It gives me some ideas and options, but it is never a cut and paste. And I can't imagine that it will be that for the business of healthcare as well. It could be a tool to help in many ways, but there's always going to be a human element. And I think the message for our members, and I think Bevan mentioned this too, is that we need to be adaptable and find out, how will I fit into this? How can I make it leverage the technology with what I do? So yeah. All right. Any thoughts on other keynotes or general sessions that you guys saw?
I liked the closing with Larry Weaver. I thought that was just a really nice feel-good close. It just, everybody kind of left happy, and I really enjoyed that.
What was his topic? So I was trying to recover from singing Celine Dion.
He was our comedian for the night, for the evening.
Okay. And does he tie it into healthcare, or
he tied it more into self-care, right?
Okay.
Yes, I think so. Yeah.
Physical health, your emotional health, stress levels, which was really kind of nice how he kind of was able to weave that into the. It was comedic. It was really a good feel good, I think, way to wrap everything up.
Awesome. Now, how about breakout sessions? Angelika, what was your favorite breakout session?
I think probably Shannon DeConda. She did a managing the physician coder relationship. And I think that she was very interactive, very good speaker, and definitely not biased because she's also from Augusta, Georgia, like me. But she was very, very interactive, and being in person. This is my third HealthCon, but my first in person. It's world of a difference because you can also be reactive as an audience. But I thought she had some wonderful insights on managing that type of relationship between the clinic side and the coding side.
I'm going to put you on the spot, Angelika. So what is there one thing that jumped out to you that can help you with that relationship that she said or taught?
Yeah, I think one point was being relatable with the provider and advocating for your provider. So letting them basically understand that by advocating for them, you are showing with provider education that you're advocating for your provider. So I thought that was a really good point.
Okay, awesome. Catherine, you're next. Favorite breakout session?
I really liked the telehealth OIG session. I was just looking here. It was Lisa Castillo and Brenda Beal, because I do like looking at, post-COVID, what are we going back at and reviewing and analyzing, looking at? And they had some great data behind it. I really like that one because telehealth is changing. I think it's different post-COVID than it was pre-COVID, and I think it's still changing, especially with new CPT codes coming into 2025. This is something I think we really have embraced, and we're going to continue on. So that aspect of coding is still really interests me.
Catherine, I have the perception, and correct me if I'm wrong, that that the pandemic really propelled telehealth.
Absolutely. I think it was not widely accepted by many payers before. I think we had these blinders on, thinking that the only way to provide great patient care was hands-on with the patient, right? The patient had to be there. And, you know, being forced into this, for lack of a better word, into this new form of patient care, and for enough time to give us outcomes, I think really demonstrated to these payers that not only was, you know, patient care not sacrificed, obviously there's some care plans you're not going to perform telehealth, but it makes sense for certain disease processes and certain patient populations. And maybe patients that didn't have access before, we can now expand access to. So it really gave them a different way to look at it, which I think was for a benefit. That's one of the good things that came from COVID, is the expansion of telehealth that I think in perpetuity will be there.
And I think we were so quick to adapt that there may have been some challenges that we didn't see. And are we trying to iron out maybe some of the wrinkles that we had as more payers opened up that telehealth road?
I think with the new CPT codes are going to be coming in 2025, it's going to be a lot easier to bill for it. I think we can forget those modifiers that, you know, certain companies wanted this modifier, another payer wanted that modifier. They went back and forth. I think that the states are going to be more specific about providing care over state lines. There was some relaxation there over COVID. And many states are continuing to, it's more state specific than it was for the pandemic, but they're continuing to allow that provision of care over state lines. So I just think it's gonna continue to evolve. And I think it will become much easier to bill and be reimbursed for it as we adapt coding for it. I don't know what your thoughts are, Angelika.
Sorry, I didn't catch what your question was.
I didn't know if you had any different thoughts about the future of telehealth or the complexity of the billing and coding. I know wound care, I mean, do you use any telehealth within wound care? I think a lot of it depends on, right?
We did, we do some telehealth. We did a lot of it when COVID hit because the nurse, we primarily work at skilled nursing facilities. A lot of them were shut down so that even providers outside of their internal PCPs that were coming, we do rounds. So our providers could not go in and do rounds. So we would have to see them telehealth and basically direct their on-staff providers with what to do. So with like debridements and things like that. So we couldn't physically perform any procedures, but we could still monitor their wounds. So we still do some telehealth now that we are finally able to go back after the beginning of the pandemic and go inside the buildings. We also do some interprofessional calls and some at-home visits as well. So, but I think that, yeah, with COVID, with the lockdown, telehealth coming in, it was something that was around, but was not that widely, like you said, accepted. Before COVID, you know, I had used telehealth a couple of times, and it was more or less for like I had a cold, a cough or something, or I needed a prescription renewal, like a one-time kind of urgent care type thing, so you could avoid having to go to a physician if you can't get an appointment. Now with telehealth, you can actually have primary care physicians, and they can record your stats from home. There are plenty of people who have their own blood pressure machines, or they have their blood sugar meters, or even oximeters, and they can record that at home and give that to their provider for them to update their records and then provide the care based on that documentation. So I think it's going to stay, and I think it's going to evolve, and we'll see more of it.
Jumping back to our AI discussion, our very own Craig Larson says it fabricates statistics all the time. So I throw in the craziest things at ChatGPT just for fun to see what happens, and I'm always trying to get it to have a conversation with me. And I think the scary day will be when it talks back to me like a person. Hopefully it never gets there. But Missy Kirshner says, remember when we thought that EMRs would make us obsolete? So like,
So
we've been down
that-
this road before.
Mhm.
Yeah.
With EMRs with AI, we all use, we have the code set with ICD-10 and the CPT and HCPCS. So this is something that's universal that we use, but we don't all use the same EMR. And English is such a complex language. We have 10 words with one meaning. And even in the medical terms, some words are used interchangeably, and you won't really be able to determine what they mean without context. So I don't think AI is going to be able to extract that information accurately in order to apply the code sets. That's still something that's going to have to be done by a human.
Yes.
I mean, it would have to be completely, all the EMRs would have to be completely integrated, and all the words, the language that we use would have to be across the board the same, so that this is not going to happen.
Lori says, Alex, you can get your own AI friend. So there was a movie a few years ago, Shew, right? I don't know if you guys remember that, but about a guy who has a relationship with the AI person. I'm good. My marriage is great. I'm not looking for an AI girlfriend. All right, you guys. Hey, we are near the end. We're so glad that you were able to join us today. Catherine, Angelika, thanks so much for being with us.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, you guys hang on just for a second.
Sure.
Everybody, we'll see you again in 2 weeks. If you're in Philly, and I think there's a seminar or workshop for the Philly chapter on Friday, I will be there. So I'm leaving tomorrow. I'll see you guys, the Philly area people, on Friday. And then we'll post this broadcast on our YouTube channel. You can watch it again on the Facebook channel. It's there right now. And we'll get it up on our podcast as well. So, okay, everybody, we'll see you next time. Bye.